Thanks to Restore, Primetime is back.
This is my time.
I didn't want to be bald any longer.
Hello. Stephen A., have you had a conversation with LeBron since we seen the incident?
No.
Would you?
If he asked, which he wouldn't. But if he asked, sure.
Why do you think that happened?
Because we don't like each other.
Right. Okay. Big Boys Neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen A. Smith in the neighborhood. Stephen A., welcome to the neighborhood.
My brother, what's going on,
I'm
man?
good,
Glad
man.
to finally be here, man.
Man, it is a pleasure
Honored.
to have you in here. Stephen A., how do you know all this shit? Like your brain, bro, is you like AI. Like you pull up all the information and you back it up. You know what's wild about that, man, is people say the bigger the star, the bigger the target. Mm-hmm. You know, like you could have just did the whole shut up on many of things, but that's never been in your character.
Right.
Like you'll meet something head on. You could say, you know, unpopular opinions. Mm-hmm. And have you always been that guy? And you know how to align yourself with people too. That's like, hey, that's my guy. Yeah. That's my girl, whoever it may be.
Right.
Have you always been that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a mission-minded dude. I pride myself in being a man of integrity. I'm not perfect. I'm certainly not flawless. And I know that. But I like people to look at me and know that what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. I don't like phonies. Mm-hmm. I can't stand a two-faced bastard. They make me sick. I don't give a damn who they are. I don't like them. Mm-hmm. Because I don't like being with people who are inauthentic. I don't like being around people like that. That bothers me. I can't be bothered by somebody or something or a quality in a person and then turn around and be the very thing that I abhor. Mm. And so I pride myself on being that kind of guy. But when it comes to this business, it's like, you know, I remember when I saw people, you know, they had problems with some of my NBA stuff. I remember last year it was a big thing, you know, Wallow and Gilly. I remember Gilly got on me because I was covering NBA Countdown for ESPN last year, and I like Gilly. Please, I'm not saying anything negative about him. I like him a lot. I got a lot of respect for them brothers, but I'm just giving an example of because it crystallizes the kind of climate that we in and what I have to deal with. So he's getting on me. And he goes on social media. He's going to get called the league about Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook was playing for the Clippers. They were going up against Dallas, and he was roughing up Luka Doncic, who obviously is a global iconic brand who happens to be white. Let's get that straight, okay? That actually matters.
Yeah, he was white on my TV.
Okay, yeah. that actually matters, right? And so other people like Matt Barnes and Stack, Steven Jackson, and all of them jumped on it. And I had to remind cats, you watch the league. I cover the league. There's a difference. So you watch the game, you watch something going on, and it stopped there. No, I was on the phone with Adam Silver. I was on the phone, the commissioner. I was on the phone with the VP, the executive VP of basketball operations, Joe Dumars, who just got the job running the New Orleans Pelicans, right? What I was saying was, Russell, because of the rules and regulations, and because that if that had been Draymond Green, they would have suspended him. Russ, that ain't smart because you do that, you could get suspended. So I'm here thinking he was going to get suspended, and I was fearful of that. I thought he should have been ejected, but not suspended. But nevertheless, I was like, yo, and if he gets suspended, that's on him because you can't do that. That brother's a global iconic brand. It's very, very obvious what you're doing, engaging in roughhouse tactics. This is not the 90s. The NFL, the NBA ain't going for that. So everybody was getting on me about that because they said he called the league. I didn't call the league to get him suspended. I called the league to find out why he wasn't suspended because my bosses said, had that been Draymond, he would have been suspended. Find out their explanation for why he didn't get suspended, why they didn't suspend him for NBA Countdown. So during NBA Countdown, I had to come back on the air. Yeah, I just spoke to the league. And this is what they said. Right. Everybody was getting on me about that. Well, you don't have to do that. I do. Right. You understand what I'm saying?
Because you cover.
I cover never the league.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you know, I remember when I was on the air with Max Kellerman doing the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. And he's sitting up there talking about, you know, the waiver, and they told me about the waiver. And I was like, you mean this waiver? The NFL just faxed it over to me. I mean, it just emailed it to me. This is the waiver right here. General counsel, his name's right here. I just got off the phone with him. You mean that? That's what you're talking about? Why you acting like you know something I don't know?
Checkmate.
You know, so it's like I'm telling you the perspectives. And so, you know, they'll talk about this. Like, you know, I know NFL owners. You know, there's several NFL owners who know me by name. They know what restaurant or what bar I've met them at. They know when they've had me over for lunch. They know when they've invited me to their house to have a meeting with me. Same thing with NBA owners. Same thing with executives. Same things with coaches. You might have players and stuff like, oh man, bump this guy, bump that guy, because we living in a different age and you got a bunch of followers on social media and stuff like that. You ain't got to talk to the media. I don't get paid to talk to you.
I needed affordable therapy. That fit my hectic schedule, and Rolla delivered exactly that. Since starting my online,
I get paid to talk about you. Alarming. I didn't know until 2 minutes before the show. And so.
And started trying to get involved and cursing the players out. And LeBron turned her and said,
Yes, he
sit
did.
your ass down.
Yes, he did.
Because I'm a pro NBA player playing with other NBA players in a pro sport, and I'm a man amongst men. Don't take up for me, mommy. So now cut to Stephen A's doing his job. His job is to critique NBA players and the sport of basketball. And now here you are rescuing your son twice because you got him in the league when you knew he didn't belong. And number two, here you are for the second rescue. So LeBron, sit your ass down.
Damn.
Because you being a hypocrite, dog. At the end of the day, this is still a professional sport. Once you enter this game, that target is on your back.
Right.
You are open to be critiqued.
Yeah.
Who are you to where you are above criticism? Because of who your daddy is?
Right.
No.
But
you're a professional player, so you have to endure all of what comes with that, which is criticism.
And that's understood. But my thing is this,
Here's
too.
where I was at.
If I get one chance to see you, I'm on you. And see, where I was at, Stephen A., I'm looking through daddy goggles.
Yeah.
I'm looking through daddy goggles. Do you feel like a lot of people look through parental goggles?
I don't have no problem with it.
Right.
I don't have any problem with it.
But I totally just.
But
like,
here's what I think respectfully. Here's what I think with people who felt like you and others missed. And I asked Rich Paul this, his agent. And Rich Paul is a good dude. I don't always agree with him, but he doesn't always agree with me. But he's a good dude. He's a good dude, man. Doing what he can. Doing it well. I said to Rich Paul when Rich Paul called me, I said, can you give me grace on something, please? Two things. I said, have I ever shitted on Bronny? He said, no, you have not. I said, number two, if you had called me and said, yo, LeBron is livid. He's pretty pissed off at what you said. He wants to see you privately, man to man. I said, what would I have done? Rich Paul said, you'd have been on the next plane to L.A. That's the point. Rolling up on me, courtside, in the third quarter of a game. It's nationally televised. What am I going to do? Yo, bro, big boy, do you know that happened on the day that my new contract was announced? It was all over the news that day. It was that night that he did that. We could have met in the back after the game. He could have rolled up on me and said, don't leave.
right.
I need to talk to you after the game. Any player that knows me, I've been here for 30 years, find one, just one, that said, yo, Stephen A., we want to holler at you, and I didn't show up. You will not find that player in 30 years. It's never happened. I'm not running from anybody in terms of what I say. And it's for a big reason. Number one, I usually know what the hell I'm talking about. But number two, if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. And if I said something publicly that I'm wrong, I'll apologize and correct the record
I saw
publicly. I will go on the air and say, yo, I'm wrong. I never forget one time when Mello, that's my dog, Mello was pissed at me because he was in the Olympics. And I reported on something with the Knicks. He was highly upset at me. It's the only time this ever happened. And he said, how come you didn't call me? I'm like, yo, man, you in Brazil at the Olympics. He said, that never stopped you before.
Right.
Had me dead to rights. Because I'm thinking it's the Olympics. You there, and I covered the Olympics, and it's so restrictive, and you can't talk to people, you can't get close, all of this other stuff. He was absolutely right, because I would have called them. You know, one of the things that I feared with anything that I said, because you was listening to me when you talk about an interview when we was off the air, when you talk about me talking with Howard Stern, whether it was Kobe, God rest his soul, or his CP3 and various others throughout the, man, it's certain kind. You know, I did this job, and I was here before he got here, and I'm probably going to be here when he gone. And it's because of how long and how many times I refrained from saying nothing.
Right.
I refrained from saying anything. I didn't say a word. So for me, I'm not backing up, but if you got people that's a part of his fandom and they want to come at me, fine. You know, I did this job, and I was here before he got here, and I'm probably going to be here when he gone. And it is what it is. It's a shame that it's like that, but don't think for 1 second that it's because of that incident. We have a history. You understand?
Right, gotcha.
And it is what it is. You know, and I'm a man, I'm a professional, and, you know, if he wanted to talk, that's fine. I will never pursue a conversation with him. I will never pursue a sit down with him. I don't care if we never speak in life again. And if that's
have y'all been in the same
I don't give
arena
a damn.
since then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was at the Lakers game a couple of weeks ago, about a week ago or so. Yeah, and I'm going to be there again. Do my job. I'm going to do my job. I mean, it's nothing. Listen, I'm not going after nobody personally. I mean, look at my life, man. Got time for that. I'm 57 years old. I'm not a child. And I think a lot of times people, you know, they forget that because, you know, we live in a culture that don't respect their elders. And you're going to talk to anybody like they're 20 years old. I'm 57. I got a life. I have a very, very good life. And I'm chilling. So I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to be as professional as I possibly can be. I'm certainly not going to violate my own or compromise my own integrity and professionalism for anything. When LeBron does well, I will applaud it. When he doesn't, I'll say that too. Personally speaking, I root for him more than I root against him because he's great for the NBA and he's in a fabulous market. Where do you think I want to be in June?
Right.
I mean, you think I want to be in Utah?
Right.
I mean, I want to be here. I want to be in LA. You see what I'm saying? So I ain't rooting against him. I want him to win.
Do you feel like you said less than others?
If you own NVIDIA, this could be the most important video you will ever watch. Because while millions of investors...
Yes, I really do. I really do. And that's not just with him. That's period. Because I came up in a culture where folks was talking about cats' personal lives all day, every day. And I think one of the greatest badges of honor that I've achieved in my career without people knowing is I got folks more focused on the game. I'm the one in those newsrooms battling those stories from getting out. Did they break the law? Are they in the police blotters? Then what you bothering them for? I've looked at executives and, like, oh, you didn't do that before? I say stay off the weed, but I say it only because don't let it cost you money. It ain't me telling somebody don't smoke weed. Hell, there's plenty of people who smoke weed that living a better life than me.
Right.
Sometimes I wish I was doing it. You know what I'm saying? But the point is that if the league's got a problem with it, don't let it cost you your money.
Right.
So I get that, and that's all I was saying. I remember at one time Snoop had to call into my radio show at the time, and literally, tip cats off. Stephen A's my man. He ain't never said anything to me about smoking no weed. We know how much weed. We know he gives a new definition of green rooms. With Snoop, I never once said anything to him about smoking some weed. You understand? Because it don't compromise his business.
Stephen A., when you say don't let it mess up your money, Shannon Sharpes. Bro, I know this your dog, and And I love what Shannon Sharpe is doing. I love Club Shay Shay. I love everything. But god damn, man. When I saw this one, I was like, I remember someone told me years ago, and I brought it up earlier, the bigger you are, the bigger the target. And Shannon Sharpe, to me, is on his A game everywhere. And when I saw the 19, 20-year-old OnlyFans girl, I'm like, bro, is this what we fucking with? Is this what we do? Like, what's your not position, but where do you think what's happening now? And I know he's kind of stepping back from ESPN and gonna come back for football, but and you probably had conversations with him that's more privy than what we could share. But when you saw this breaking out, what did you think as Stephen A. Smith, a comrade, associate, friend, brother, black man, everything?
It was important for me not to be selfish. I'm not going to, of course, I've spoken to him.
What did he say?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. But I feel about Shannon Sharpe the way I feel about Ryan Clark, the way I feel about Marcus Spears, the way I feel about any of my teammates at ESPN. I mean, we have a great group of folks, and it's a genuine friendship with one another. And I got a lot of love for Shannon and getting to know him. I haven't known Shannon all of these years the way that I've known the others. I've met him in passing and stuff like that. And then, we became friends once I went and got him and brought him on board at ESPN. And I'm very proud that I brought him on board because I think he's done an exceptional job for us. His effort was contagious. He never cheated us. He always came on the air, always ready, always enthused about performing and doing his job and making sure he contributed to the ratings, which he did in a very profound fashion. And I'm incredibly grateful to him for that. When I saw the story come out, obviously I was alarmed like everybody else. It's 9:58 on Monday morning. We got a show at 10 o'clock, and then the story comes out about the allegations against him. That was very alarming. I didn't know until 2 minutes before the show. And so when you dealing with something like that, it takes on a life of its own. And on one hand, you got to be very, very sensitive to him from the standpoint that he is profoundly claiming his innocence. But then in the same breath, you're looking at the stuff his lawyers put out, and you're like, that ain't helping. And then you're looking at what you know about Disney. See, that's where I come in. Because none of these cats have worked for Disney as long as I have. And is as familiar and intimate about the inner workings of Disney. Disney and how they think the way that I am. And so I'm now imagining what Disney's going to ultimately do. So although I was hopeful that it ultimately would not lead to him being off the air, I knew it wasn't going to go down like that because I know Disney.
Right.
And so, you know, again, I can't say all the things that I've heard, all of the things that I know based on my conversations with him and my conversations with the executives. What I do know is that he has emphatically and profoundly proclaimed his innocence from a legal and libel perspective in terms of, you know, not assaulting or raping or doing anything like that to anybody. He is emphatic that he is innocent of those things. But the court of public opinion is what the Disneys of the world and others concern themselves with. That's a more immediate issue. And unfortunately, that has worked against him at this particular moment in time. So I'm hopeful this will all go away. I'm hopeful that I'll have my brother back on the airwaves talking football next season. I don't know if that's going to happen or not because we don't know what else we're going to learn and what Disney's going to be comfortable or uncomfortable with or anything like that. But you also have to remember where the relationship really originated in terms of he and I. He was pushed out at Fox. Yeah. And I know there were folks there that wanted that to be the end of his career, and I wasn't going to let that happen because I remember how folks tried to do it to me in 2009. And I was blessed and fortunate to be a brother in a position where I could do something about it, where I didn't have that luxury of having somebody there for me like that. And so for me, anytime you mention him now, you're thinking about.
Hey, if you're a gun owner who wants to shoot better, then you're going to need to see this. It's the new Vanish Laser Strike Training System, and it is awesome.
Me to some degree because I brought him on to ESPN, and that just elevated his profile and assisted in Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, and all of that being taken to another level. And so knowing that, that's why I felt it was important to go on my YouTube show, my podcast, the Stephen A. Smith Show, and just let everybody know I'm not here to speak of innocence or guilt from a legal or a civil situation. That's for them to handle or whatever. I know the brother tells me he's innocent. I believe him. All right. But most importantly, I'm his friend.
Right.
And that man has done, you know, he's helped me immensely. It ain't just me doing for him. He's done for me as well in terms of his performance and his dedication to his craft and how he's helped us in terms of the show itself and how he helped us continue to explode. And I'm incredibly grateful to him for that.
So let's talk about this because obviously you've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return. You've talked about this in the past of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador whose deportation your administration called an administrative error. You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that, and that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the power to bring him back, though. Your attorney general says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just to put a fine point on this, do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the attorney general that it's legal to do so. But the decision as to whether or not he should come back will be the head of El Salvador. He's a very capable man.
Well, and your attorney general has said the issue is with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme Court?
We may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. Some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Is anyone in your administration right now in contact with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia to the United States?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the Attorney General that question.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top.
If you're a busy guy on the go, here are 4 soup pitfalls to avoid. 1. Avoid these telltale signs of cheap construction. If the lapel...
This is Democracy Watch. Mark, I'm going to put a headline on the screen that I had to read 5 separate times and then ask you offline if it was actually real. This is the headline from Democracy Docket. Group founded by Trump ally Stephen Miller sues John Roberts in a bid to control the courts. John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the United States, is being sued by a group that was founded by Donald Trump's own advisor, Stephen Miller. What in the world is happening here?
Yeah, so I got to give people a little bit of a peek behind the curtain because it is true. Literally, Brian was like, okay, I saw this on Democracy Docket, but this isn't real. And I literally had to show him the lawsuit to convince him that yes, this group, Brian, is suing the Chief Justice of the United States, claiming that the Judicial Conference, okay, this is the entity that oversees the budget and the operation of the U.S. Court system, that it is actually, in this group's estimation, it is actually not part of the courts. It is, wait for it, part of the executive branch and should fall under Donald Trump's authority.
So what was their contention within the lawsuit? What is the crux of what they're trying to do, of what Stephen Miller's group is trying to do?
So I have to say the lawsuit, is odd. It starts as laying out a series of grievances, and the first grievance it lays out is that it believes that Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and Representative Hank Johnson, who's a Democrat from Georgia, are being too mean to Supreme Court justices, particularly Justice Thomas Alito and Kavanaugh, and that as a result, that the goal of these Democrats in Congress is to, quote, chill the judicial independence of these Supreme Court justices.
So if not for Sheldon Whitehouse and the other Democrats bullying the Clarence Thomases of the world and Samuel Alitos of the world, if not for them, they would be able to really exercise their judicial independence. That's the problem here, is that they're being bullied by the overbearing Democrats.
Correct. That's right. The problem in the federal judiciary, according to the first paragraph of this lawsuit, is that it is not the White House or the Republicans who are threatening judicial independence. it is actually the Democrats who are threatening judicial independence.
What I would give for the Democrats to be 10% as aggressive and overbearing as Republicans frame them as being. I would love, to live in a world where we had the Democrats who were just so strong and aggressive and hostile that they could actually impact what this Supreme Court is doing.
Look, so that's how the lawsuit begins. And, by the way, kudos to Senator Whitehouse and Congressman Johnson that you've made it into this screed of theirs. But what they really are saying is that the part of the judiciary, the judicial conference, the administrative body that oversees the courts, that because it is an administrative entity, it administers the court system. And by the way, the Chief Justice is the head of that, which is why John Roberts is named. That because it's an administrative body, it needs to sit in the executive branch and be controlled by Donald Trump. So, at the end of this rainbow, they say, would be the court system's administration. The administration of the court system would not be under the Chief Justice, but would be subject to the whims of Donald Trump.
Don't they recognize the obvious fundamental problem here, which is that we have three co-equal branches of government, and they are literally trying to say that one of those branches of government sits beneath the executive branch?
Yes, that is what they want.
I understand why they're trying to do this is because they want to assert control. They already own the legislative branch because Donald Trump could ask any of these congressional Republicans to sacrifice their firstborn, and they would say, "How about our secondborn too?" But really, the biggest bulwark against the executive branch's overreach has been the court system thus far. And so this is basically saying you think that you are a co-equal branch of government, but in fact, we own you.
That's right. We should be in charge of administering your budget and how you operate and all of that. That should be within the purview of the White House and the executive branch. And of course, since they believe in what's referred to as the unitary executive theory, it literally would mean at the whim of Donald Trump. And all of this because, as I said, they believe that Clarence Thomas, Justice Kavanaugh, and Justice Alito have all been bullied, and that this is therefore essential.
Right, they've been bullied, and that's why they're not allowed to exercise any
judicial independence.
And judicial independence, right? If only the Democrats hadn't bullied them so much, they would be more neutral. But I guess, alas, that's where it stands right now.